Hypocrisy abounds. I am the last person who should be talking to anyone about patience. Hey guys, last week we learned that patience was actually possible for living, breathing things, not just inanimate objects that have no pulse and purple unicorns with opposing thumbs. We learned the perspective shift of thinking about patience, not as a defense mechanism to keep us from acting a certain way after we've been provoked, but as a gift we give to others. This week we will dive into what patience actually looks like from a practical standpoint. And by the end of this video, you should have some workable ideas to help you navigate this stuck-at-home situation with your kids. To help us further grasp this concept of patience, let's see what some famous people have to say about it. Because you do know that celebrities, past and present, are far more wise than the general population, right? This list will not be in alphabetical or chronological order. Famous person number 1, Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi said, "Impatience will blur the revolutionary's vision and lead him astray." And he was definitely acquainted with patience because he became the front runner for the long, non-violent civil rights movement in India, during which time he would fast for up to 21 days at a time. It's said that he did this 17 times. That's a whole lot of patience, waiting, endurance for your next meal. Tell that to your kids the next time they beg you for a snack 26.5 minutes after you fed them lunch. Famous person number 2, Bruce Lee. I don't know why I just said it like that. My brother and I used to say that when we were young because my dad liked watching Bruce Lee movies. Bruce Lee said, "Patience is not passive. On the contrary, it is concentrated strength." And we should listen because this dude was scary amazing. Have you seen Enter the Dragon? And check out that imposing look of concentration. And check out that strength. Famous person number 3, Aristotle. Aristotle said, "Patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet." Gandhi could have used some of that fruit because after exercising all of that patience, he was pretty hungry, I imagine. And I am sure that Bruce Lee used fruit as part of his healthy, balanced nutritional plan. Because look, concentrated strength. Famous person number 4, Leo Tolstoy. The writer of War and Peace, made popular by Charlie Brown. At least that's how I heard about War and Peace, on Charlie Brown's Christmas movie. And he was also the writer of Anna Karenina, which is considered by many to be one of the best literary works in all of history, that I never plan to read because it looks depressing. Said, "The strongest of all warriors is these two, time and patience." Well, that sounds well and good, and I know an author much smarter than me said it, but I disagree with calling time a warrior. Why, you ask? Because time will pass regardless of any influence whatsoever. I mean, time passes. Time is passive. Get it? Patience, however, takes effort, and that effort of patience is expended over time. So I present to you the idea that time is actually a requirement for patience, not its equal warrior. Sorry, Leo, you're not here for me to rub it in. I guess I'll just sit here by myself and feel proud of myself. And finally, famous person number 5, Louis XIV of France. Louis XIV said, "Impatience for victory guarantees defeat." That was terrible. Because in my head, King Louis XIV sounds like Lumiere. Why on earth is a man with tights and a really big wig on my list? I'm really glad you asked. Well, because look at that fabric on like everything. That stuff is plush. And he's also on my list because along with Louis XV and XVI, he partially designed the Palace of Versailles, which is like one of the grandest palaces in the world. And it also just so happens to be the name of a town near Lexington, Kentucky. Not the palace part, the Versailles part. But of course, it's Kentucky, so they don't pronounce it correctly as the French word that it is, which I'll admit has been a thorn in my vocabulary flesh for the past 14 years because I had to drive through the area to get to where we lived in Ohio. Now, it's a beautiful area to drive through, but Kentuckians, please stop saying Versailles or Versailles. That is just ugly. and you know it. At least spell it differently. Not that any of us in the United States can say anything about spelling or pronouncing anything correctly because we all have different accents. So we really don't know what's correct, do we? We are all guilty. But back to the Palace of Versailles. Wait a minute. French people. Why on earth do you have so many useless letters in your words? I mean, at least the Kentuckians listened to their parents when they were studying their phonics and they actually said the letters and the sounds that were there. I mean, seriously, on what planet do the letters D, P, T, X, Z, who knows what else I'm missing? Oh yeah, and the last 4 letters of Versailles, LLES, have no sound whatsoever. Those letters mean absolutely nothing. They're useless there. That's a waste of ink. Don't you care about the planet? Apparently that's not important on the planet of France. But couldn't you just spell it V-E-R-S-A-I or V-E-R-S-I-G-H or something that made sense to the rest of us? But back to the Palace of Versailles and King Louis XIV. Why didn't King Louis XV and XVI make the list of quotes? There's a couple reasons for that. Number 1, because I couldn't find a quote with their name on it that had to do with patience. But even if they did, the second and most important reason as to why they're not included is because, well, King Louis XIV just so happened to be the inspiration for the design of my favorite dining room chair. So there. Okay, so back to being at home, stuck with the kids. Traditional schools have the luxury, and I mean luxury, because teachers are way underpaid. They have the luxury of having teachers who have learned the ways to teach all sorts of different children in one room. In that classroom setting, there are children who learn audibly, verbally, kinesthetically, musically, logically, etc., etc., etc. And most of their students are going to be combinations of those theoretical styles of learning. In the classroom, the teacher is trained to do a combination of all of these styles throughout the day sometime because they have 20 plus kids in one room every day. Something in their repertoire is usually bound to work for most of those children. Now you're stuck at home and you're not a trained teacher. Like I'm not a trained teacher. Even if your child is learning online completely, being taught through a video school, there will be topics or whole subjects that just do not translate well for your child over the screen. You are going to have to exert this gift of patience while you help your child learn to navigate independent learning. And there's gonna be frustration all around. Guys, they're gonna be learning some things that have to do with self-regulation. The reprimands that they used to get in class, or the fear of failing in front of the whole class while they're writing on the chalkboard. You know, the fear of making a fool of themselves in front of their friends. That used to keep a lot of people in line at school, but we don't have that pressure anymore. The only thing that's there to keep them consistently staring at that screen and working on the papers in front of them is you. They're more used to being fed information and they're used to having an external source of discipline. The patience that will be developed here in this setting at home is multifaceted. Yes, you have to be patient in dealing with them because if you don't, your impatience with the victory of learning a concept will almost always frustrate them and guarantee defeat. Thank you, Louis XIV. This will be a defeat in the form of frustration and the inability to grasp that concept. But furthermore, this defeat could mean that they give up on something that you know they have the ability to perform. They could have succeeded at this thing, but we were too impatient with them. Remember, Mahatma Gandhi said, Remember, Mahatma Gandhi said, impatience will blur the revolutionary's vision and lead him astray. Don't cause your child to believe that they can't go down a certain path because they don't grasp something the way you do or as quickly as you do or did in the past when you learned it. Which, by the way, our perception of how quickly we learned something back then is probably skewed. This one actually hits me pretty personally in the area of mathematics. Maybe I'll share about that in another video. But anyways, you're going to have to actively develop patience within yourself because, like Bruce Lee said, patience is not passive. On the contrary, it is concentrated strength. You are going to have to concentrate your strength. But don't clench too hard, you might strangle somebody. And you are going to have to learn or possibly relearn how to do some things that you don't necessarily care to relearn. Like me, the accidental homeschooler. Thanks, Bruce Lee. And furthermore, you're not just gonna have to learn to do the new problem, you're gonna have to learn to teach the new concept, possibly a few different ways. You might have to write out several equations on the board, or get out manipulatives, or have them watch YouTube videos to help them grasp this concept with you, because you're probably teaching yourselves both at the same time. But remember, you are gifting patience. And Aristotle's quote will definitely apply to you in this instance. Patience will be bitter. Very bitter. But its fruit will be sweet. Not just the fruit of your child grasping the concept, but the trust your child will have to come to you with other problems, academically related or not, trusting that you won't freak out. You're building something here. That fruit will be sweet. And not to leave Leo Tolstoy out of this summary, there will be 2 warriors left standing at the end of this, but it will be you and your child who learn patience over time together. So now we have seen that patience is a gift and that famous people have validated its importance. Because remember, class, and this is important, celebrities are wiser than the general public. But there's just one problem with these quotes. They describe the presence or the lack of patience. They don't actually tell me what it looks like so that I can obtain it. For that, we're gonna have to go to some historical literature that holds probably the most in-depth and comprehensive studies on patience that there's ever been. Whether you believe in the scriptures as God's word, or as many scholars do, you just believe it is the literary masterpiece that it actually really is. We can all agree that the Bible has a lot to say about patience that I'm not going to get into right now. I'm just going to share with you one verse that I believe spells out what patience looks like in detail. 2 Timothy 2:10 states, "For this reason I patiently endure all things for the sake of those who are God's chosen ones, so that they too may obtain the salvation which is in Christ Jesus, and with it the reward of eternal glory." In this passage, Paul the Apostle is actually teaching his younger protege Timothy how to relate to others. Paul is saying that he is patient for the good of others. It is Paul's gift here that promotes the rewards of another. Now, regardless of what you believe here, Paul is teaching that his sacrificial gifting of this patience and endurance is actually going to produce the rewards eternally for these other people. On multiple occasions, he teaches followers of Jesus about patiently enduring. The words he uses for patience are endurance, steadfastness, long-suffering, which is probably my least favorite description, but probably one of the most accurate descriptions of what patience actually is. All of these words depict something that is gained over stretches of time with efforts. Just like with Paul, it is our gift of patience that we exert over the time that we're stuck at home with our children in these situations that wins rewards for our children. And they're not just academic rewards. And now the only thing left to do is to take this knowledge that I've learned and go practice it so I don't feel like such a hypocrite. If you found this video to be helpful, please like, share, subscribe to this channel, comment, look me up on Instagram, and remember, harness the power of thought, and please don't stop thinking. See you in the next video.